the part of this presentation is a little bit different from what I was telling just before. This presentation is to give you an idea what kind of material there is, and in order to have an idea of how to find the right material that you might need for the development of your courses. And why is it we need to do a presentation about it? It's not because it's a big science, but it's simply because there is quite a lot of material. And some of this material is included in many different databases and cannot be found by the normal search engine. In this project, we have developed something that is called PROF TRAC repository, and that's a kind of database where we collect all of the reports and the PowerPoint presentation and different working tools for reaching the nearly zero energy buildings. And all of these materials is combined together. But if you look at the amount of the literature there is, you'll find out that there are quite a lot of reports, there are quite a lot of small tools. And in order to structure them in an understandable way, we had to develop a certain structure for that. But first of all, how do we use this structure? And of course, the idea is that you should be able to find what you need. But what kind of material have we included into this structure? I'll say that the main idea was to use all of the European projects that are publicly available, where the material can be downloaded for free, and those are normally the projects that deal with the integrated design, good energy efficiency of the building, etc. And of course, the primary idea was to find the material that is suited for the teaching purposes. In priority, we would like to have a lot of PowerPoint presentations so that you could just copy-paste, but this is of course not so easy because most of the European projects, they are focused on reporting things and not producing the PowerPoint presentations. So, if you have to look at all of those reports and all of those publications, we need to have the structure. So I'll jump over this one. We have a number of projects, and here you can see the list of the projects that we have included into this repository. And they are very different, all of these projects, dealing with the different areas of the building design. And if you have to have an overall idea what are those projects are, we have divided them into several groups. There is a number of projects that are dealing with the new buildings. There are a number of projects that are dealing with residential buildings, and some of them are dealing with the social housing, because in many cases we have European projects that are dealing only with the part of these areas. So once you have a database in front of you and you know exactly what you are looking for, whether it's residential or social housing, it might help you a little bit to filter out the literature you do not need. Of course, when we look at the literature, there are also quite a lot. We can look at the different design phases. We can look at the strategy development, where we only have an idea that we need to renovate or build a new building. And for this perspective, we might consider using the renewable sources as an example. But we touch all of these areas in a very different way compared to the situation when we look at the design phase and when we look at the construction phase. Then those different areas are discussed on a different level. And that's what this chart is for, where we have a list of the projects and we have different design phases. So you have an idea to which of those projects you have to look to. If you ask what kind of material there is included in the database, there is a list of the materials, and as you can see that it includes nearly everything. We have the PowerPoint presentations. Some of the projects, they include the lecture notes. There is a large number of reports and different publications. There are also video tutorials and different examples of the workshops, if this is something that you want to develop within your courses. There are guidelines and toolkits. In some cases, those are made in form of a report, but in some cases, those are actually some spreadsheets. Some small packages of a software. The huge amount of books with the case studies exemplifying different energy efficient solutions. All the resources and databases, and there are also massive online courses. So actually the database is structured according to the different topics. And those different topics are divided according to the profession. Then we have topics with regard to, for example, energy management. We have a topic according to the energy production, energy reduction, and interdisciplinary skills. Besides that, we also can distinguish between all of these publications on the basis whether those are renovation or new constructions, and how the building is used. In the database, we do not only have the single family houses projects, but there are also hospitals, hotels, etc. So actually there is a broader group of buildings which is discussed in those reports. If you are only interested to find a PowerPoint presentation, you are also able to filter the material according to that. So there is a list of the types of the material, and you can filter out some of those. We have also considered using the different languages as a possibility for filtering. However, we must say that we were not able to read all of the literature in all of those languages. So if someone would like to contribute to the database and say that, for example, this report is in French and it contains this and that, then it would be possible to include that one in the database. Oh, since you cannot see it, we don't need to discuss it. If you open the home page, you'll see a menu. On the left-hand side, you have the filters. So you can pick up the topic, you can pick up the type of the project, the type of the building use, and so on. And on the right-hand side, you will see the result of the search. So in a way, you will be able to access the material. And I know that any search you'll do, you'll have quite a large list of the publications. And once you don't know what is in those, you will spend time looking for the thing you need. And to help you looking for the things that you need, it's quite good to have an idea what those different publications are about, or more specifically to say, in which scope are those published. Because if you know that these are published within the project that is called, for example, Train Rebuild, then it means that those are more or less discussing the originating stage of the project. So to say, where you brainstorm how do we do this renovation. So the starting point of the project as an example. So I'm not discussing every project right here. You have it in your PowerPoint presentation, so like a lookup book if you want to know very fast what this project is about. And then there is every project discussed in more detail. There are approximately 3 pages per project, where you can have the reference to the project web page. You have a period when it has been, let's say, completed, and also you have the main idea what this project is about. For example, the project this Train Rebuild is about creating a value chain where the participants of the project have developed different structures in order to teach not the governmental organizations but local authorities in the renovation project to introduce them to the idea of renovating the building, as well as the owners of the different buildings, as for example social housing, so that people want to do the renovation. And on the last page, there is normally a link or explanation to what kind of material you would be able to find for this project and what could be particularly interesting for you. Of course, we do not know what you are interested in, but having a look at all of those publications, some of the most interesting are highlighted. For example, for this project, there are developed several toolkits for the property owners, but also for the local authorities. And that would be very simple explanations to what does the U value means, how does it affect the energy performance of the buildings, why windows should be 3-layer glazing instead of 1-layer glazing, and what does that mean for the building, also for the building cost. So very simple explanations which are understandable for, let's say, people that are not from this field. Sorry?
The last one would be very interesting.
Yes, and the one with the payback spreadsheet. Of course, it has to be said that these spreadsheets are developed for certain national conditions. So countries that are participated in the project, they have approved it. But that does not mean that this sheet would be suitable for every country. But it's publicly available, so one can improve it if necessary. Or work on it. Then there is this project shelter, and the project shelter is dealing about, let's say, it's facilitating the collaboration between the, let's say, the modes of cooperation where one have to decide on how do we finance those different projects. And normally, how do we decide on the financing issues from the beginning of the project so that our costs do not become unreasonable. And there are developed different guidelines. There are also some case studies where the different financing options have been tested and how did those affected the final result. Yes, as you can see here, I highlighted the countries that participated within the project, and there are normally those case studies are also valid for those countries. So for this project, there are available different literature, but there is a shelter guide to integrate, but do not misunderstand the word integrate here, because this is more or less related to legislations and to the financial aspects of the building development, and not so much to the energy and thermal comfort as an example. Also some recommendations for the public authorities, how to deal with the banking systems and so on. After project is a little bit different from many other projects that are included in this database, because after project is actually dealing with the building performance after it has been built. And actually it is, let's say, providing quite a lot of information, and it provides a certain guide on how to find out how to improve the building performance. So in this case, we are also working with the building managers and with the people that are actually responsible for running the building on how to teach them to run that building properly. So what is possible to download from this project is actually a certain framework or set of tools how to analyze the building and optimize its performance. And it's very, let's say, not rigid, but rather strong structure. You look at this property, you analyze whether it's set up correctly, you improve it in this way, and you move on. So it's a very strong list of points. Then a project that is called Powerhouse, and the Powerhouse is, I would say it's more a database where you have to log in and create a login name. Once you do that, you'll be able to access a lot of literature related to the social housing, and to be able to, where a lot of social housing organizations of Europe, they have joined together in this project, and where they include all of the literature in exchange for each other. Yes. So between all of these different publications, you can find a lot of the case studies for very different climatic conditions, but also for some buildings you can find the real-time energy monitoring, which is not found in any other places, at least within the other publications. Very shortly, This is a project that is called Educate, and this one is also targeting a different kind of user group. This is targeting the teachers and developers of teaching material for the architectural education. So if one has to have some knowledge on improving the teaching, specifics of teaching, how do you present different aspects of the building performance, then these are the publications you are interested in. Mat3D is a project that is explaining about integrated design process. It includes different tools, or you can call it tool, but actually those are published in formal report. What questions do you ask yourself while working in an integrated way with the building design? This is a toolkit, and this is a toolkit that is included in the database, so you can find it. The benefits of this one is that the integrated design process is described rather short, and the toolkit is very condensed, so you can move on and get an overview of the whole procedure comparably fast. Zero Energy Building Strategic Research Center. This is the Zero Energy Center I was talking about in the previous presentation, and this is the, you can call it project or center, that was located in Denmark. And within the center, the cooperation between the industry and research was in order to develop different solutions for the future nearly zero energy buildings. And I believe some of you have been talking about those publications. Some of them are in Danish, some of them are in English, where we have publications with regard to the definition, what the zero energy building is, for example, for Denmark. What are the main design principles for zero energy buildings, and what are the technical solutions that could be applied for this case. And those are publications, they are not very long, but they are very condensed and referring to the different sources of literature. This is the intent design, again working with the integrated design process, where you organize the engineers and architects in one team in order to reach, let's say, a successful team for the building design. And in this project, very similar to Mat3D, there are tools developed or guidelines how to be built in an integrated way. There is also an online database where you can find some more information about it. The project also includes some PowerPoint presentations and several case studies with regard to the effective design. Karel will be speaking a little bit about the IDIS EDU at certain points, so I'll just jump over. nZEB, and also nZEB is the project dealing with integrated design within the hotel business. And I'm not speaking much about it because you can read everything that you need on the PowerPoints, and we have to wrap up. Similarly, Coherino is the project that is working on the refurbishment and development of the business case models on how do we refurbish buildings in a more or less standardized way. And here we are discussing mainly the single-family houses, and the concepts for the renovation are developed. Streamer is also dealing with an integrated design process, but in this case this is related to the hospitals, and here it's discussing the energy, but actually more in a way on how you organize the building. Because when you work with the hospitals, one of the biggest challenges is to keep an overview what are the different requirements to the different rooms and zones in the building. So this is actually working quite a lot with the building information systems, BEAM and GIS. And finally, the last source of the information for the courses could be using this massive online open courses which are for free. Those are regularly updated, so actually it's not possible to make one clear search system, but there are some links where you can have a look for the inspiration. So that is more or less from us here, and if you have any questions, you're welcome to ask. Thank you.